All right, cool. So yes, Greg from the Greg and Lucky Show on 947. You're the next guest. I'm super excited to hear about your story into how you got onto the radio. I mean, I don't know how anybody gets onto that, but yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. And yeah, let's start talking about it.
Awesome. James, well, thank you for having me. First of all, I think this is cool. I think this is where kind of content's going. More video stuff, stuff moving away from, the big kind of media houses. So it's nice. It's nice to see someone getting out there doing it yourself. So you want to ask how I got into radio?
Yeah, like it's such a, movies, you do drama, but radio, like what do you do to get into radio?
So I always wanted to be in radio. Like I remember when I was at school, something which I thought was cool. We had like a 5-minute drive to school, and I would always be like, "Ooh, I want to hear what's going to be on the radio, what's going to be happening." And then I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in grade 11 or matric. Like really, like I was like, "Yeah, I want to be on radio," but I mean, what kind of, like you say, like what does that mean? What does that entail?
Yeah.
And then my sister said to me, well, what you should do is go somewhere that has a student radio station so that you can get kind of exposure or whatever. And then at the time, there were two places. So Stellies had Marty's FM, and lots of the student radio stations. There's Voice of Wits and UJFM, and then at Rhodes there was RMR. So I went to university. I decided to go to university at Rhodes, all because of my sister, because she actually is an actress, and she put on a production at the National Arts Festival.
Okay.
And I was just blown away. I was like, oh my goodness, this town. My parents are up in Joburg. I can live down here. Like, it's so cool. So what I did is I said to my dad, yeah, cool, that's what I want to do. I want to get on the student radio station. But then he was like, well, do something that kind of gets you on that path. So obviously I was very, very fortunate. Like my folks were able to afford to send me to university, send me to Res, and I studied journalism. So, if I wasn't going to be able to get in and do the fun stuff, I was going to at least be able to do the serious stuff. So I learned how to become like a proper reporter, in a sense, and that's what I pushed for. And then when I got to varsity, which was great, I didn't get into the student radio station. The first year they told me to get wrecked. They're like, oh, this is terrible. Only in my second attempt did I actually get onto where I really wanted to be.
Yeah. And when you you say your second attempt, what do you have to do in order to get onto that radio station? Like,
so the first thing you had to do was you just had like filled in a form. So I think every student radio station does it, and every student radio station normally has quite a lot of people in the beginning who are all quite keen and excited. But after the excitement wears off, the radio stations at university are so desperate for people who are good, keen, and talented. Like the amount of times I knew people who were really good at it, but they were like, "What, you want me to come in at 3 a.m? Stuff that. Like, I'm not coming in. I could be at a Joel. I could be trying to pick up chicks or something. But so it was like a simple kind of like fill in a form kind of thing. Send us a CV. I sent them a fake CV, which I just made up stuff on it because I'd done really nothing. Like I went to high school and played computer games, and like I didn't do like community service or was a prefect or anything like that. And the fake CV was just kind of like a joke. Like I said, like people of note, and I wrote like my grand thinks I'm cool and all these things, which got me an interview, which was quite cool.
Okay.
So I got the interview, and then you sit down in this room, and they had a boardroom, and like they were all just other students as well, but it felt so serious. And I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. So then like I bombed out. I freaked out in that interview, and like they asked us to do a voice test, and I was like, oh, flip, like no, my own voice. and then literally just ummed my way through the whole voice test, where you're just like, that was Britney Spears, and like it was horrible. So it was a good learning curve, because then like the next time I was like, oh my goodness, I need to be prepared. I need to prove to these people I'm ready to give it a go. So yeah.
So it's sort of like first year is busy asking you questions, and you in second year like, what the heck, man?
No. Fortunately, then it was second years and third years asking me the questions. But when I was a first year, I was so intimidated. It was madness. I was just like,
Yeah, sure. I can imagine. But look at it now. I mean, geez, thank gosh you actually did go through with that.
yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, so literally, it's been so good. Like the first foot in the door I got from a job was from someone who worked at the student radio station, and had got a job at a commercial radio station. And like I think it's underestimated about how many industries desperately want talent, and there are talented people out there, but you just don't know where to kind of find the talent.
Yeah.
So the classic it's who you know kind of thing
Yeah.
worked for me, which was quite lucky, because I didn't know anybody in the radio industry other than that guy who like worked with me.
Okay. So it's sort of like, yeah, I mean, if you don't go looking for it, then it's not going to come to you.
Yeah. Well, so I was lucky. Like I was keen, and I was looking around, and then I phoned him, and he was like, cool. Actually, yeah, we do need somebody. And it was quite cool at the time. I think the company that I ended up working for had like they came and visited the station to like eye out people. And nothing came from that, but I was on their kind of books in a sense. Like they had me in the back of their mind, and they were like, "Oh, we've spoken to him. He's not a complete idiot. Maybe we could use him for something."
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool that it led to like this. You know what I mean? So when did you? Because I know it's like the Greg and Lucky show. So did you only meet Greg when you came? Because I thought you guys would have been like in varsity together, and that's sort of how you teamed up.
No, it's actually really, really awesome how we met. Lucky, so I worked at the radio station. So I worked at the radio station, but I literally worked behind the scenes for almost 2 years, and had nothing to do with on air. Like I was loading winners into a prizes system, and like just annoying people, being like, hey, like annoying my boss, trying to like get on air and do more things.
Yeah.
And then I got I got transferred to the programming department, where they were like, cool, well, like we know that you're creative and you want to do all these things. And then someone like there was just an overnight slot that had opened up on the weekends, and I like to call it, Lucky and I were doing the worst and the second worst slots in radio. Okay. He was doing midnight to 4 a.m. on a Saturday and Sunday, and I was doing 4 to 7 in the morning on a Saturday and Sunday. And Lucky had just been hired. Like we had a talent search or whatever, and then Lucky got hired, and kind of got thrown in the deep end. And like when I came in, I'd now been working as a producer a little bit, so I'd been helping out with daytime shows and like coming out with content and stuff. And Lucky was like, well, sorry man, do you know how to phone? Do you know how to phone out? Like I can't work the desk properly. Like, so, and that's how we met. And I helped him use the phone lines and do some technical things. And then after a while, so I actually started getting to work a little bit earlier, because I was driving, and I used to live quite far away, so it took me like a 40-minute drive to come into work, and I was like, this sounds quite lekker. Like so I started going in earlier. We started chatting and like getting to know each other, and then we sat down. We're like, maybe we should see if we can do a show together. And our management said that they were going to suggest it to us.
Oh, is it?
and then we suggested it to them, which is really cool. And then we got the third worst slot in radio, which was Sunday nights from 9 o'clock to midnight, which is also a huge one for when people are listening. But it meant that we could kind of get away with things and try things without really annoying the core audience.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I love the way you say the worst slots, because I can't imagine anybody listening from midnight till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh no, there's some creeps out there.
Or maybe night shift workers, shame. We'll give them credit.
Yes, no, night shift. Lots of people actually work in Lancet Labs. We'd always get like a message like, "Hey, what up from Lancet Labs?" Who I'm sure are now working a hell of a hard during
Yeah,
lockdown.
juice. Yeah, no, frontliner. They deserve all the praise. But yeah, no, that's super cool. That's super cool. So, on a slightly different note, something that I did want to ask you that a few of my mates also asked me to ask you is, now this is totally different to what we were talking about.
No, sure.
Who's the most famous person that you have on your phone?
Yo, it depends. It depends if you want the most famous person that would actually answer my phone call, or a famous person who would answer the phone call.
Let's say
I
who
think
would, and then who wouldn't.
I think the most famous person who would answer my phone call is probably Anele. So she does our breakfast show. So Anele daughter, she's massive, like huge. Yeah. Or Darren Simpson, like all the like radio people. So we were producing something, and I had Nas Buerta's and Bobby Skinstad's phone number, which we used for an interview once, but I'm almost 100% sure they would never answer that. And let me just have a quick look if there's anybody cool and interesting.
No, like Jerry Loops or Matthew Mull.
Yeah, I've got Matthew Mull's number, and he would answer. Matthew Mull would definitely answer. Dave Scott from the Kiffness, they'd take my call.
No, that's cool.
Apple Goulet, yeah, but those are all people who like are really, really like you've dealt with them. So when you work with someone in the music industry or you do something, like I just saw there, like probably wouldn't get an answer. Cameron van der Berg, gold medalist, like we phoned him years ago. And I still got his number. I don't know, but
you keep it just to say.
No, Google's got everything down. Like I can't delete numbers. Sometimes I delete a number and it comes up again. Like I think your contacts sync with everything. So
yeah,
I've just resigned myself to this. I've even got like some people who I don't want, but they've stuck around.
For what the heck? I might as well keep Cameron van der Berg's number. I mean,
yeah, maybe I'll need breaststroke lessons one day.
No, that's cool. Okay, so something that I did want to ask you is, people. How can I put it? So, what you're doing? Okay, now I've already asked like how you got into the radio and stuff like that, but something that I want to know is, how sort of like what is the time period that it takes to get to the point where you are now? Are you going to carry on going further in radio, and sort of like what are the difficulties and what are the positives of being on radio? You know what I mean? Having your name out there on radio.
I don't know, like saying the point I'm at now, it's difficult to define that point. Like personally, Lucky and I, we work on the weekends, and I think like in a pinnacle for radio, what you want to do is you want to be doing one of the drive shows. You either want to be doing the breakfast drive or the afternoon drive. That's where your core massive listening is. Yeah. So main commuter hours, bigger numbers there. So I mean, I'd still love to go for that. I mean, we got a little bit of a taste of it a couple of years ago, and that's something that we definitely want to push on for. And then I think if you're talking about other people on the timeline, I'd say as long as it takes. And I know that sounds a little bit naff, but I know people who've got into radio. They've worked behind the scenes for 6 months, and now they're doing like a great show on a national radio station on weekends. They're working on a breakfast show.
Mm.
I don't know if you know Zanele. Zanele works at 5. Really, really young, really, really talented. And for her, I think it's been a bit of a 2-year journey, but it's been so quick.
Is it? Yeah.
Whereas, for some people, like Lucky and myself, it was it was a 3-year journey to get a weeknight show. So after we moved from that third worst show,
Yeah.
we moved to a slightly better show, probably the 7th best show on a radio station, from 10 to 1 at night, 5 days a week.
Okay.
And while we were doing that, he was still working a full-time job in an ad agency, and I was still working full-time as a producer. And only after we got a promotion from that to a new time slot to 7 at 10 at night were we really doing radio.
Yeah.
And Lucky and I have both spoken about it. There was a time when we were both ready to give it up. We were like, yeah, this is great, this is fun, but this is hell.
Yeah.
This is long hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, it came through, which was great.
Yeah, for sure. And as you say, you got a better time slot now. I love the way I love the way you put ranks on all of the slots. I can see you put a lot of
yeah, you have to
put a lot of thought into that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what I could say to anyone who's trying to get into radio, and I know that's the whole thing. Like, we're trying to give tips to the youth and people who are trying to get in. I think get your foot in anyway, like any way you can, get your foot in the door, because the thing is then once you're there, people can see your talent or your passion or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't get that foot in the door, or you're not putting in the hard yards, like whether it's creating your own content, like doing a podcast, putting stuff online, like there's no barrier to entry anymore. You can practice, you can get those 10,000 hours without a formal kind of system.
Yeah.
And it could be discouraging because numbers might be low initially or whatever, but numbers are very low at 3 a.m. kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's all about just practicing and pushing and consuming a lot of other kind of radio or whatever kind of content you want to create or industry you want to be in. Like have your finger on the pulse a little bit to see how it is kind of. So immerse yourself in it to get in it. And if it takes a long time, you're only going to be upskilling yourself. So it might be worth the time.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's interesting that you say, like, if you want to get into creatives, as you say, like being a creative nowadays, it's so diverse. You know what I mean? We have YouTube. You don't actually need the big platforms nowadays or the big need to really get into it. But one thing that I want to ask you personally is, so when you and Lucky do shows on the radio, you guys you're putting out topics, like, you know what I mean? You pump out topics. How much thought goes into these topics? Are they just like off the top of your head, or do you plan
it? So for lots of other people do it differently. But like Lucky and I, it goes into a lot of planning. So, I mean, we used to do a 4-hour show, and we'd meet 3-4 hours before the show. And like even if you're not like straight sit down, writing on a piece of paper, coming up with the ideas, our method, what we would do is we would we'd walk around, live our lives, and then we'd mail all of our ideas to one inbox. And then when we came in on the day, then we sit down and we we kind of sell each other the ideas. So when you're going on air, at least how we do it, like it's extremely structured. So we make it sound as carefree and easygoing as possible. We haven't written out what we're going to say, but we know if we're going to be talking about that one time Lucky got locked out of the house because he was not supposed to be out kind of thing.
Yeah.
We know that that's where we're going,
Yeah.
or we know that we're going to be calling for something. So if we're going to go like, when did you get caught red-handed? Or like, so you know what your end part is,
Yeah. Sure.
and you know what the content is, but you don't know exactly what you're going to say. But we definitely know like where we're going in a sense.
Yeah. Sort of plan. Yeah. As you say, set yourself up.
Yeah.
For the
So
topic.
yeah, like some bullet points of like breakdown of the hour. Cool.
Yeah.
At 45, we're going to be discussing
Yeah.
why Cameron Berg won't return my calls at and kind of things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's interesting. Now that'll help me a lot actually, because now that's what I'm trying to do. I'm
Yeah.
starting to
Well, I mean, like you prepped your questions, like the format is an interview format, but I mean, like, are you going to have, are there different things in the format? Like, is there a moment when, I get the interviewer to ask you a question, or no, not that, because I mean, never rely on other people for your content.
For sure.
Always rely on yourself to
Yeah.
bring it, kind of thing.
For sure. That's actually something that I have noticed. I mean, yeah, if you're not going to, as you say, don't rely on other people. Actually, now that you've said that, it actually sparked my interest because it's so true. It's so true. I mean, for a while, I looked at YouTube and I was like, no, you need like money, you need cameras and stuff. But actually, you just need to, you need to get it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Actually,
Yeah.
say that. But yeah. Anyway, okay, cool. I think that was long enough. Thank you so much for talking with me. I'd
No
love
stress,
to
man.
get, I'd love to get Cameron van der Berg's number from you. No, I'm joking. But yeah, thank you for being on the show. And yeah, I look forward to listening to you soon.